We are joined on the line by Mr Ulrich Roux, a director with BDK Attorneys. Mr. Roux, sir, very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us here on PM News.
Hi, good afternoon. It's good to be here. Thank you.
Mr. Roux, sir, many are asking, we've seen the trial highly publicized, but now the review of Oscar Pistorius' parole has been done under a veil of secrecy. Why?
Well, basically, the parole board had taken a decision to release Oscar on parole, and the Justice Minister then found that that decision had been taken prematurely and that it should be reviewed by a parole review board. Now, this is not an open review. Legal representatives aren't allowed. The accused person himself isn't allowed. It's basically a review board and a panel, and they sit and they then decide and scrutinize whether the parole board made the right decision. So I don't think it's done under a veil of secrecy as such. I just think that that's the normal procedure under which it is done.
All right, Mr. Roux, you mentioned this earlier that, of course, his earlier parole had been denied due to a lack of proper processes being followed. But does this now mean that a sentence is being considered for parole again? Is this the legal time frame for him to be released?
Yes, well, one must look at the act under which Oscar was sentenced, and his sentence was 5 years under Section 761I of the Criminal Procedure Act, which states that he could have been released after having served 10 months. He could then apply to be released on parole. So what the Justice Minister found, that his application essentially was not brought at the right time. It was brought, as you say, prematurely, and only after having served 10 months of his sentence, that application could have been considered. So this parole review board will now, as the same as the parole board, they will now consider whether Oscar does in fact qualify for parole or not. They would be making use of the same information and tools as the parole board. And yes, I do think that he most likely will be released prior to the appeal being heard at the end of November.
Mr. I think it's very important to ask about the scrutiny now this has brought to our judiciary as a whole when we hear these processes are not being properly conducted in such serious matters. I mean, the reputation of the parole board is at stake here, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think there were certainly a number of strange occurrences with this whole decision. Number one, it's clear that the Justice Minister only reconsidered the decision made by the parole board once the women's movement had brought it to his attention that he should not be released during August. And, one begs the question that should they have not brought that under the Justice Minister's attention or to his attention, would he even have scrutinized that decision? So certainly a lot of questions have to be asked. And, I just think that the parole board and the minister who makes these decisions obviously must make sure that due process is followed in future cases and that every single case goes through the same processes and procedures when determining whether a person qualifies for parole or not.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Roux, for your time. That's Mr. Ulrich Roux, a director with BDK Attorneys, schooling us on the legal aspects of Oscar Pistorius' parole review.